Welcome to APR Supply's Tech Tips for the Pros. This is our second video covering pressure switch faults. If you haven't already watched the first video, we recommend you look at that first because it covers the basics. In this video, we'll be looking at some additional pressure switch faults. To diagnose these faults, we'll be using the Fieldpiece SDMN5 as well as a smoke pen. The first one will be a faulty inducer motor. If the inducer motor fails to operate, the board will indicate a pressure switch fault. This is why understanding the sequence of operation is very important. In the beginning, when the circuit board switches the inducer motor on, a timing circuit starts. The pressure switch must close within 15 seconds or there will be a pressure switch fault. If the motor fails to run, you must test to be sure that the board is sending voltage to the motor. If the board is sending voltage, the motor is defective and must be replaced. If there is no voltage sent by the board is defective and must be replaced. This seems to be simple since the motor either runs or does not. However, if the motor runs but cannot create the correct level of vacuum, it can be more difficult to diagnose. There are two problems that should be checked. Each inducer motor has a tag that will show the manufacturer's full load amp rating. You will need to find this tag and verify the running amps of the motor. Then you will need to test the motor amps with an amp meter. In normal operation, the running amps will be 70 to 100% of the amps on the label. An amp rating that is nearly equal to the motor tag rating or above indicates the motor bearings are going bad. A motor with bad bearings is not able to run at the correct speed to create the required vacuum. The other possible problem is that the inducer motor blower wheel is deteriorated. It would also not allow the inducer to create the proper vacuum. The only way to verify a blower wheel problem is to remove the inducer and inspect the wheel. The next possible issue is air leaks in the system. This can also cause pressure switch faults. If the air leaks around the inducer gasket or around the collector box or cold end header box, it can cause a pressure switch fault. The gaskets that seal the box to the furnace as well as the gasket that seals the inducer to the box can leak. If a leak occurs at either of these points, the inducer may not be able to close the pressure switch. A good way to test for these leaks is to use a smoke pen to visualize the leaks. Leaks in either of these places will not allow the vacuum level to reach the correct level to close the pressure switch. An air leak at either the inducer gasket or the collector box gasket can usually be repaired by replacing the gasket. Voltage drop in the limit circuit can cause a pressure switch error. This error does not seem to be a logical problem. What can happen is that if any of the individual limits or the wires or wire connections in the limit circuit have a higher than normal resistance, the board can interpret this as a pressure switch fault. This possible cause of a fault can be measured using your multimeter. Measure the ohm value of the entire limit string. The total ohm value cannot exceed 0.5 ohms. If the reading is higher than 0.5 ohms, you should then test each of the limits individually. I have a list of 19 different causes of pressure switch faults. If you'd like that list, go to the website on the screen. Thank you for watching APR's Tech Tips for the Pros. Hope to see you again soon.